Hey everyone, thanks for joining Learn to Play Games. My name is Lance, and in today's video I'll look at a brand new game coming to Kickstarter called Salvage Deep Space. This is a new one from 3301 Games. It is a 1 to 4 player game that takes roughly 1 to 2 hours to play per session, and is a fully cooperative game where all the players are working together as a team to accomplish the mission or the goals of the mission that they've selected to go on. So in this game, this is a legacy style game, which means that the decisions you make are going to have lasting and permanent effects on the game, potentially having you add stickers to your mech suits or changing all kinds of different things within the game that will impact the game as you play through it. So with legacy style games, you are going to play through the entire game through multiple sessions, and then again, everything that you do is a permanent effect where it could have you destroying components, adding new components, changing components permanently as you play through. So once you've completed the game, most of the time that is it, the game is over with and you won't be able to use it again, but it just depends on the legacy game that you're playing. So in this game, you are going to be playing a group of players or pilots that have these mech suits that you're going to be going on different salvage missions on, defeating and fighting enemies and all kinds of different things that you're going to have to accomplish as you go in there. Each game is going to consist of a number of different steps, including the pre-mission step where you're going to read the narrative and find out what's going on within this mission, select the different objectives that you're going to have to try to accomplish, selecting your different suits and pilots you're going to use to pilot those suits as you jump down into the different mission or planet that you're on, and then you'll populate that planet based on your sensor array, giving you certain information but not all of the information, and that'll depend on how well that sensor array has been upgraded throughout your missions going up to this one. And then once you're down on the planet, you're going to be moving around the map trying to accomplish the goals that you've selected for that mission, and then hopefully making it back up to your ship afterwards, where again you're going to read a post-mission briefing and will make different decisions that will impact the game, and then you'll be able to spend the resources you've gained, whether it's the salvage or coins or all kinds of different things, to upgrade your suits and being able to upgrade your pilots and your dice and all kinds of different things that will improve you as the game goes on. Now, like I said, with this one, this is also going to be leading into a heavy role-playing element to the game. So this is kind of a role player in a box. So your pilots are going to be customized, kind of like if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons and that, how you have a character sheet. Your pilots are going to work similarly, where you're going to tailor your pilot and then pick the suit that they're going to go into for each mission. Now, as you go through the mission, your pilots can die and will be permanently eliminated. So you'll lose anything that the pilot has, but anything that the suit has, any upgrades you've gone with and whatnot, will stay with that suit. So you won't lose everything, but you want to make sure you're working together as a team so you're not losing pilots constantly, as your pilots are going to make a big difference within the game as well. So in this video, I'm going to show you the main features of the game and then show you a sample turn to give you a basic idea how this one plays to help you decide whether or not this is one you want to back on Kickstarter. As always, if you find my videos helpful, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel. It's one of the easiest ways you can support channels like mine so we can continue to grow and be able to produce this content. If you want to get notified anytime I drop new videos, also give that notification bell a ring, and that'll let you know when I drop new stuff. Now, I do want to point out that before getting into this, all the materials you see here are early prototype materials and are subject to change and will look a lot better in the final production copy of the game. So let's go ahead and head to the table and we'll see how this one works. The first thing to look at are the different salvage units you can use throughout the game, and there's going to be a whole collection of these available to you. Each one will have its own dashboard that'll list its name, such as this one, which is the UH-16 Pegasus, which is kind of our healing unit, and will be comprised of 3 systems. The Cradle system, which will consist of its hull, its basic attack, and movement values, and then you'll have its primary system with a number of abilities underneath that, and its secondary system, again with a number of abilities under that. And then as the players go through the game, they're going to be able to upgrade these systems, adding new abilities directly to these salvage suits to customize them throughout the game. Each one of these abilities is going to have all the different stats for it on there as you need, such as the cooldown. So each time you use an ability, you'll place cubes on there, and then you'll remove 1 cube at the end of each one of the rounds. And there'll be other things you'll be able to do to remove additional cubes. Once all the cubes have been removed, you'll be able to use that ability again in later rounds. Each ability is going to list the speed of that ability, as well as any other important information on it or description of how that ability works. Then you're also going to have the statuses that you'll be able to keep track of throughout the game. Some will be positive and some will be negative, and as well as your efficiency. As this is a fully cooperative game, you are working together as a team. The better you work as a team, the more benefits you're going to get. And the higher your efficiency is, the more bonuses you will receive that are going to help you as you play through. Each player is also going to have a customizable D10 that you'll be able to add stickers to throughout the game that will customize this and make it more and more powerful throughout the game. And then each one of the suits will also have its own miniature that'll go along with it. The next thing I want to look at is the speed tracker, which is going to basically double as an initiative track that will dictate when each one of these suits will activate, as well as adversaries. And at the bottom of this chart is also going to be the efficiency of the team based on how well they work together, and will grant the players bonuses the higher up that chart that they go. From there then, during the second step of each round, you're going to be placing tokens on here based on the options you've chosen during the first step. And for example, let's go ahead and say with the Pegasus unit, I want to do an attack action as I am close to somebody. So I'm going to go ahead and select this first ability, and this one is going to tell me that I'm going to place the token in the speed column of a standard speed. So I'll go ahead and place that as my primary. And then I did also select a secondary ability, so I'm going to go ahead and choose this one here, and that one is going to be speed 1. But since I already have an ability that is slower than that, I have to move this down so that all of my abilities are on the slowest track that I've selected for one of the abilities. From there, as adversaries come out, you'll also place their tokens on there based on the adversary, which I'm going to cover in just a minute. And then as you move into the third round, you're going to resolve each one of these in order as you work your way through, and resolve each one of the different abilities for the suits and adversaries as you go. Now, this wouldn't be much of a game if you didn't have some enemies to fight, and so there's going to be 3 different classes of enemy that are going to be included in the game, and this is just a sampling of just one of the classes. With these, we have the Xeno-Martian, Drone, and Warrior, with each one of them listing all the different actions they can potentially take, as well as their toughness rating, which each one of the units is not going to have any hit points. Their toughness rating is going to dictate when they are going to be defeated by a player dealing damage equal to or greater than that toughness. And then you'll remove that particular enemy. Now, each enemy is going to have a standee, which will also have little pegs in it that you'll be able to place different statuses in throughout the game as that enemy takes different statuses, both positive and negative. And again, these are just prototypes. They're going to be adjusting these and making them different so that they are going to be more friendly towards colorblind players. Now, each one of the enemies are also going to have their own die that is going to be added or customized throughout the game as well. And then you're also going to have the adversary tokens. During the second step, you're going to draw these tokens, and then based on the number on them, you're going to place that token in the different speed category as you saw already. And this is going to dictate what kind of action that particular enemy does. And you'll be placing these tokens, and then the enemies that are closest to the mechs are going to be activating first, so you won't have to keep track of which token you're drawing for which enemy. You'll simply activate them based on how close they are to the mechs, and then kind of work your way out from there, as you're going to see a little bit later in the video. The last thing I want to go over before getting into a sample turn are the tiles themselves. So there's going to be a number of different tiles that are going to be included in the game, and then each mission is going to have its own chart that is going to list all the different things, all the different features that are on that tile. That way then each tile is going to be randomized and used differently based on the mission you're playing. As you can see, there's all kinds of different icons on these tiles which will correspond to the mission and will tell you exactly what to place on there, whether it is different tokens or enemies that you're going to have on there, or salvage tokens and whatnot. And then throughout the game, the players are going to be moving along these different tiles, being able to collect different salvage tokens, defeating enemies, and then trying to move off of them through the checkpoints, at which point you'll reveal a new tile and add it to that existing tile in a different way. And then you'll populate that based on the mission that you're playing as well. And this will provide a fog of war effect where you're not going to know the full layout of the tiles or the map as you get down in there. And some of this is going to be based on your sensor array that is going to be on your ship. You'll be able to upgrade. So during the beginning of a mission, when you set up, you might be placing just one tile or more based on that array. And then again, you can upgrade that to give you more information as you get into a mission and be able to be more advantageous, hopefully, towards your suits. All right, and the final thing I want to go over is a sample turn in action to give you a good idea how this one plays. Now, before getting into each mission, you're also going to select which of each of the players is going to be your Alpha, your Beta, Charlie, and Delta player, and they will receive the tokens for that. And that'll dictate when they were going to activate during each one of, or the first couple of steps. So each round is going to be broken down into 4 phases that the players are going to play through in order. The first phase is the synapse phase, and this is basically the players reacting to each other. Now this phase, you're not going to be talking with each other. You can't tell each other what you're going to be doing. You're simply going to be placing your primary and secondary tokens on the board to initiate to the other players what you potentially could be doing. And again, this is basically like the players reacting to each other. So as you play through more missions, you're going to learn more about each one of your teammates, and we'll be able to determine what each one of them are doing. And this is going to start with the Alpha player working through each one of the players, where they will select one, either a primary or secondary token, to place down on the board. So let's go ahead and get into it. So our first player over here, the Alpha player, is going to select something that he's going to want to do. And again, he is not going to dictate what he is doing. He's just choosing which system he's going to activate for this. So for example, let's go ahead and say I'm going to go ahead and drop a secondary token down, and I'll place it here. From there, then it'll move on to the Beta player. And so the Beta player is going to do something, and with that one, I'm going to go ahead and place a secondary down as well, and I'll place it here. Moving over to Charlie. Charlie is going to do a similar thing. I'm going to go ahead and place that one there. And then finally over to our Delta player. Our Delta player is also going to drop a tile down, and he's going to go here. All right, moving back to our Alpha player to go. Our Alpha player can now drop another token, and you can only drop one of each. So if he's going to drop another token, he has to drop a primary token. And that is what he's going to do. So he's going to go ahead and drop that one, and he is going to select to do, I think I will go with this one here, and I'll place it underneath this enemy. All right, so I'll just place that right on top of there. All right, and then it'll move over to the next player to go again. So with that player, I'm going to do a primary as well onto this space here. Moving on to my Charlie player. With that player, I think I'm just going to stick with the secondary system, so I'm not going to drop another token. So then it'll pass on to the Delta player to finish us off. So with that player is going to, player will also drop a primary onto this space here. So that'll finish off the synapse phase, and then we're ready to move into the tracker phase. So during the tracker phase, you're going to be placing the other tokens to signify which actions you're taking, and then you're going to place them on the speed track to denote when those are going to activate. So first off, going again with our Alpha player, that player is going to be able to place his out, so he has to dictate what he is doing at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and do a basic transverse action. Lets me move up to 5 spaces with my secondary. And then with that, it is a speed 2, so it's going to be placed up here. And then with my primary, and again, you have to place tokens down to show what those are. And my primary, I am going to go ahead and use my launcher here. And that one is a speed 1. So with that one, since that is a lower speed, then this one has to drop down to match up with that one. So then I'll just go ahead and overlap those. From there, then we're going to move over to the Beta player to do his stuff. So with the Beta player, he is also going to do a move action, and that is going to be at basic speed. And his primary action, I'm going to go ahead and do the hydraulics, and that will also be at that speed 1, but again, it's going to go based on my slowest ability. So with my speed or my regular speed here, that one will go down. Moving over to Charlie player, that player is going to just do that secondary action, so it's just going to transverse and moving there, and that is also going to be at that speed. Finally, over to the Delta player. Delta player is going to, again, do his move. And that is at that speed as well. And then his primary is going to be against the enemy. He is going to go ahead and do I think I'm just going to do a basic attack as well. And that is also at that speed, so those will both go on there. Now we have the enemies, and so we're going to have 5 enemies that we're going to pull cards for, or tokens for, the adversaries. And so let's go ahead and do that. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. And then these will go out. So first off, we have 4 of the drones. So the first drone is going to be a 3, so it's going to be a speed there. Second one is also a drone. So this one is a number 1, so that is going to be a speed there. Third is a drone. Again, that slower speed. The fourth one is a drone, and that's going to be speed 1. And the final one is a warrior, and that is also at speed 2. All right, so from there, then we're going to move into, now that we have all that stuff down, ready to move into the third phase, which is the action phase. So now we're going to start at the top of the chart and work our way down through each one of those units. So getting here, we have 2 enemies and a mech. So the suit is going to go first and handle his stuff. So he's going to move 5 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll finish off there. And so he was successful in completing his secondary system. And then he's going to go ahead and do an attack with the launcher. This has a range of 2, and it does, its strength is 1, and our enemy over there is toughness 1. So now that it is the same strength and toughness, then that enemy is going to be eliminated. So I'll add that back there. And then you're going to also remove 1 adversary token from the highest one. So one of these will go away at this point, and we'll just place that back over there. Now, any player that has placed a token there of that type is also going to accomplish that goal. So now that I've attacked with this other token from the Delta player, he was also going to attack, so his attack is going to be successful in that situation as well, even though there's not an enemy there anymore. All right, so then I can remove that token from that space as well and add that back to my area. And then I also have to place some cooldown tokens on there. So this one's going to have 4 cooldown tokens. And then I have to drop a salvage token on that space as well. So I'll go ahead and drop one of these. And the mission is going to tell you what salvage the enemies will drop. All right, that was the end of my turn. So then the enemies are going to go, and it will be the enemy that is closest to one of those characters that's going to activate. So with this particular enemy, it's going to carry out, the drone is going to carry out activation 2, which is going to have him move 3 spaces to get within range of one of the other characters. So he's going to move 1, 2. He doesn't want to be adjacent with that particular one, so we're just going to go ahead and stick him right there, and that'll actually be pretty beneficial to us. All right, so that'll finish off his turn. So then we're on to the beta player to go. So that player is going to go ahead and do his secondary first by moving. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that will complete his secondary. And then his primary is that attack. And he is going to, he won't be able to attack there, but he can shift his attack as he is adjacent. So he's going to go ahead and attack that drone instead. And then he's going to carry that out. So with his attack, it's the hydraulic undercut, or the underarm hydraulics. That one is going to be 2 damage to that drone. So that will eliminate that as well. And then we'll place our cooldown markers on there. So now that drone has been eliminated as well. We'll go ahead and drop another token in there. So we'll just go ahead and drop one of these into there. And that will take his token off of there. Well, actually, I think that comes off later. So we'll just go ahead and leave those on for now. And that will finish off his turn. So then we're on to the other players. Again, you can, so with this player, he's simply going to move. And that is this guy, 1, 2, and 3. So he has completed that. And that is the only action he chose. And then the Delta player is going to go. And he's simply moving 3. So 1, 2, and 3. And then his primary action was going to be to attack. So with that player, with the target already done, he can improvise, which was going to allow him to shift. And instead of using the option he selected if he wants to, he's going to shift his attack down all the way down to the bottom of the row, so he'll be able to take that at the end of the turn. So from there, then it's going to move over to the enemy that's going to go next. So again, the closest enemy is going to be that drone there. So he's going to do his first activation, or his first action, which is to charge. So he's going to move up to 2 spaces. So he's going to go ahead and move 1, 2. And then he's going to carry out an attack that does 1 damage. So first off, with the enemy, he has to choose his, or he has to roll the die to determine what system is going to be attacked. So this is going to be Draco. So we're going to roll, and it's going to be against one of his primary systems. So from there, then Draco can choose which one of the primary systems that he wants to take that damage on. And I think I'll take it on the plasma torch. So then the adversary is going to roll its adversary die. And I actually should have been doing this with the mechs as well, as I completely forgot that. So I do apologize for that. But each one of the mechs would roll a die anytime they do a move action or any of their actions. And if they get a maximum, then they actually double the results of that. If they get a mishap, then they will still carry out the action, but they will not get any of the other benefits of that action. So I do apologize for messing that up, but let's go ahead and continue on with the enemy here. So with our enemy, he gets a mishap. So he is not going to attack at all, and our player has lucked out in that situation. All right, so that'll finish off that enemy. So now we're on to the 2 other enemies. So now we have one of the warriors to go. So the warrior is going to do a number 3. So again, that is also going to be a charge action. So let's go ahead and roll his die to see if he gets to move or not. And he's going to move his 3. So let's go 1, 2. He can move through enemies. He just cannot move through players. So he'll go there. And then he's going to go ahead and, no, that's just armor. So he's going to get some armor on top of this. And so he's going to be a little bit harder to kill for this. All right, that will finish off his turn. So then we're on to the final enemy to go, which is going to be this guy over here. And again, he's going to activate with 3. So he's going to move. He has his rangefinder, so he's trying to get into range. And he's going to move 1 space. And that lets him, he has a range of 3, so 1, 2, 3. So he does have range to that. So first off, let's roll to see if he's able to move. And he's good. Then he's going to attack with 1 damage. So again, he's going to roll to determine which system is going to be targeted. And it's a primary again. So again, I'll take it on the plasma torch. And now we'll roll and see if it hits. And it does this time, so it's going to deal 1 damage to that primary system. So we'll place 1 damage on that point there, and that will finish off that enemy's turn. So then finally it is over to our Delta player to go with his primary action. So he can choose that one or any one of the other ones at this point. So let's go ahead and do... Unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do enough damage with the armor on that guy at this point. To do anything else. So I'll go ahead and make the attack with the titanium netting. This is going to have a damage of 2, a range of 2, and it's going to be able to disable that particular enemy. So let's go ahead and roll the die to determine, because if I double it, then I actually can bring that guy down. So if I get a critical on this, which is a max, and oh my goodness, I did. Incredible. So with a maximum result, that is going to double the amount of damage you do. So with the titanium netting, it does 2 damage. So that is going to be 4, which will get past its toughness and its armor. So that is going to defeat that enemy. And again, we'll drop a token on there for that. And that'll be placed back over here. And that is going to be it for that player. So then we would determine efficiency. So pretty much we were able to carry out everything, but we did have the one player that wasn't able to carry out some of their things. So it would basically stay the same. All the players have to be able to take care of all of their different actions that they've selected in order for the efficiency to go up. So it would stay where it is now, but that's also doesn't mean that it's going to go down, which is good. So that will help us out. So from there, the final step in the round is going to be the upkeep step. So during this step, you're simply going to be removing tokens and adding them back onto your board and clearing everything up. So for example, our players would place all of our tokens back on our boards. And then we would rearrange anything else if there was any other tokens, clearing off the speed dial with all the adversary tokens, reshuffling them back into the adversary pile there, and handling anything else that would be during this step. And some of that stuff might be dependent upon the mission you're playing as well. Now, the other interesting thing that I do want to point out is that if you have multiple players attacking enemies, even enemies that you potentially cannot hit initially, each player that attacks that enemy is also going to drop its toughness by 1. So if you know as a team that you won't be able to get through the enemy's initial toughness, having a number of players attacking that enemy will lower that enemy's toughness. And so maybe after the second or third player attacks, that will be enough to completely destroy that enemy. So that's another interesting thing with this that you're going to have to work together as a team to kind of handle. And then from there, you would start a brand new round, again with the synapse phase, going through all this, continuing on, moving around the board and trying to complete your primary objectives. Well, I hope you found this video helpful in deciding whether or not this is one you want to back on Kickstarter. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please post those in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them, or swing by the Kickstarter's main page and drop any questions you have there as well. I'm sure the creators would love to hear from you and are more than happy to answer any questions you have. Until next time, I'll see you later.